John Kennedy, in my opinion, his advantage and his disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
So John Kennedy does not neatly fit into any of those ideological pigeonholes. What works and what is also his weakness for him is that because his support is so broad in general, that also means it's very easy for it to be taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he has a lot of money to spend, a lot depends on the quality of ads he can do. Because you will remember, going back to that Mary Landrieu John Kennedy race in 2008, while he did close fairly strongly and made it a race,
mm-hmm.
one of the things I think that hobbled his candidacy was his open advocacy of John Kerry and his former Democratic Party allegiance. So she was going around calling him one confused politician. And in my opinion, he never really developed an effective counter-narrative to that.
Well, he's been, specifically on his campaign has been very, very focused, and that is on the Louisiana budget and taxes. I wrote about that, and I personally think that that he's wrong on those issues. Not say politically wrong, but factually wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that he certainly has gotten tremendous mileage promoting that issue.
Yes.
Obviously, is that an issue that really resonates in Congress? I mean, can you say that, we have can you say that we have a spending problem and not a revenue problem? And is that going to be enough? Because what else does he have that the Congress people don't have?
Well, and one of the things I would caution your listeners with regards to his rhetoric about the spending, not a revenue problem, is that when you make that your rhetoric, you have to be very careful that you, in fact, have a clean house. And there was some controversy a couple years ago about when the state was moving its office, consolidating the offices downtown and so forth. He managed not to make the move, and he was involved in a more expensive lease. That's the kind of thing that can easily be thrown back at him. And if I were Kennedy, the thing I would be very cautious about is the fact that if you're a John Fleming, if you're a Charles Bustani, if you're a Rob Maness, any one of those Republicans, you have every incentive to attack the perceived frontrunner, being John Kennedy. So in other words, I would expect all those kinds of things, anything and everything he has done or not done as treasurer, would certainly become campaign fodder in a competitive fall campaign. So that's why I'm breaking up the race into the Democratic and Republican halves, is until we get to the runoff, there's not going to be, in my opinion, a lot of crossover in terms of going after the appropriate pile of votes to get to the runoff. It's almost like you have to work within your Republican swim lane and the Democratic swim lane. And one of the things that's worth mentioning, too, I had mentioned a few minutes ago about John Kennedy not being neatly ideologically pigeonholed. That, in my opinion, and looking back, is how Donald Trump won the Republican nomination, because his competitors never really could compete with him on any ideological base, because Donald Trump had some strength on the conservative side of the spectrum. He also had some strength in the northern states. The only person who could effectively compete with him was John Kasich. The problem was it took until March 15th for John Kasich to have a victory. By then, he was written off as a has-been. Ted Cruz's problem was, by the time he started to become the anti-Trump candidate, which was certainly bolstered by his Wisconsin showing, he had the incredible bad luck of all those northeastern primaries coming right after that, where Ted Cruz had been so effectively cul-de-saced into the conservative side of the spectrum, there was no way that he was going to carry or come close to carrying New York, Maryland, Pennsylvania, et cetera, et cetera. So in other words, Donald Trump was neatly spread across all lanes of traffic, and that's how he was able to finally win, was a war of attrition. John Kennedy has the potential for that. The thing is, though, I don't know if he can hit back as well as Donald Trump did.
No, absolutely. Well, I, for one, think he's more of a gentleman.
Yeah.
So I just don't see him as doing that at all. And so that's a real advantage that Trump has, in my opinion. So, Okay, well, listen, I think...
One other thought you have about...
Sure. Go ahead, please.
I always like kind of looking at the history of the president and so forth. So John Kennedy has not had a competitive race since his Senate race in 2008,
Right.
and arguably since his treasurer's victory in 1999. So in other words, even though he does get some name recognition from the pronouncements he makes as treasurer,
Mm-hmm.
as treasurer, you're still not going to have the same bully pulpit that you would have as a governor. So in other words, he's going to have name recognition, but it's not going to be quite the same as if he were a sitting governor.